welcome to my channel, King of What Ifs, or The King of What Ifs. I haven't decided yet, but it's probably going to be the second one. So this is going to be what if Naruto was neglected and, the Grand Priest and Trigon's reincarnation. Well, mostly everybody should know who the Grand Priest is, and if you don't know who Trigon is, he's Raven's father, and one of the top 10 most powerful beings in the DC universe. So yeah, let's get started. So first, what we're gonna start off is when we're gonna start off a few years back, like millions of years, or we're just gonna go to the Dragon Ball universe, and we see the Grand Priest. Obviously, Goku has taken over as the new Zeno, and now, he's choosing another Grand Priest, and this new Grand Priest is going to be, let's say, Whis. Yeah, it's gonna say it's Whis. And the reason he's choosing a new Grand Priest is because this Grand Priest actually has a darker side to him. He's evil. He was almost close to destroying the universe, so they managed to take him down, but at the cost of the old Grand Zeno. That's why Goku's the new Grand Zeno. So yeah, he was trying to free his wife, because they imprisoned her. He was trying to free her, and blah blah blah. So yeah, and before he died or reincarnated, he said he'll have his revenge. And yeah, he was hell-bent on taking over the multiverse. So yeah. And then we're gonna skip over to the DC universe. The Teen Titans and Justice League combined their efforts to take down Trigon, which apparently killed him, and it just reincarnated him. And so they both shot straight through the multiverse, and they met each other, and they both a wormhole opened, or portal, and he went into the Naruto universe. And yeah, that's how they reincarnated. But one thing I'm just gonna say, Goku doesn't know that Whis knows his father just reincarnated, and Whis is working with his father. All of the angels are, because that's their father and their mother. So yeah. Right. So we go down and we see a red-haired lady giving birth to 3 children. This is obviously Kushina and her husband cheering her on. Now, Naruto is going to have, he's gonna have black hair. Yeah, but his eyes are gonna be red. Let's see if I have a different. Yeah, I do have this one. He's gonna have black hair and red eyes. Because I'm gonna say this Grand Priest's eyes is red, and Trigon's eyes are red, and yeah. And so, the Grand Priest and Trigon are seeing this. They're just watching right now to find a body to inhabit, because they're both multiversal beings, so they know that they just reincarnated. So they're sitting there, and then a masked man appears inside the room. We all know this is Obito. He takes, let me say, he doesn't take Naruto, he takes Minma. And he threatens to kill Minma, blah blah blah. And Minato saves him, and Minma's crying. He tries to calm Minma down. But he hates Naruto because he thinks that Naruto is the Nine Tails, because of his red hair with his black hair and red eyes. So yeah. And that's when Naruto is just sitting there as a baby. He's not crying. He's showing no emotion at all. At all. And then that's when Kushina, Minato turns around and Kushina's gone. He sees that the masked man took him, so he takes the 3 children back to their house, or to the Uzumaki and Namikaze compound. He takes them back there and tells the guards, the Anbu, to watch over them. And so he placed the seal on Kushina, so he apports to where, or flying Rajins to where Kushina is. Him and the Knights was already extracted, but there are claims, or it was stated that the Uzumakis can withstand a tail beast or Biju being removed from them. I'm gonna say it's true because they have strong will, and as we saw with Naruto, tail beast Kurama was removed. He was half dead, but he was kind of still alive. So yeah, so say that's true. And Kushina already, Minato used the healing jutsu that he learned from Tsunade, and he healed her back to full capacity. And I don't think Obito or the Masked Men can take on Kushina and Minato. They were just dogging him out, and he finally gave up and retreated. Which that's when the Nine Tails was wreaking havoc on the village, and the third Hokage saw this, and he came in, and then Minato and Kushina, they were like, we have to seal this. And then that's when the third Hokage says, that's when Minato says he'll use the Reaper Death Seal, but he needs something to seal it in. And so he says, children, those are only suitable vessels. So he brings all three of them, and he's going to split it into two. So the third Hokage actually knocks Minato out, and Kushina asks, why did he do that? Is he betraying the village? He says no. The village needs Minato and all. So yeah. And then that's when he does the Reaper Death Seal. I'm gonna say he learned it from Kushina. He learned it alongside Minato, and once we saw inside of sorry, my bad. From what we saw inside of Naruto, he was able to use it against Orochimaru to take his arm. So I'm gonna say he already knew it since his name is Professor. So he knows all the jutsu that comes or that is inside of Konoha. And he uses it, and he seals 50% of the soul and chakra into Minma and 50% of the soul and chakra into Mito. So yeah. And that's when he dies. And that's when Minato wakes up and he asks what happened. Kushina explains to him. Minato was mad. He blames this all on Naruto, thinking that he has the soul of the Nine Tails. Because that's what Kushina said, but she didn't know that 50% of the soul and chakra went into both of the children, Minma and Mito. So she thinks that he got the soul. And she was about to kill him. And the Grand Priest and Trigon are watching this, and they see this, and they both smile. Because they think that what this kid's going to go through is going to push him to the breaking point where they could get him to, or to rule the multiverse, basically. So yeah, so they shoot straight into his body, like just straight inside of his body. Not like that, but yeah. And Naruto has a white and reddish glow for a second, just mixed, and it just burst off of him. And then this blue glow came and evaporated. Obviously, this is his chakra signature is grown. Yeah, his chakra has grown. Let's just say that. But I don't think he's gonna have to use chakra because these are two omnipotent beings, or omnipotent. They're close. Well, I know the Grand Priest is because he's basically a god. Well, he is a god, just an angel, and he's stronger than Zeno because, from what I know, Whis is stronger than Beerus, Champa's, I forgot Whis' sister name. She's stronger than Champa. And all the God of Destruction's angels are stronger than them because they trained them. So I'm just going to use that logic on Zeno. That's how he killed him. So yeah. And that's when Naruto is just sitting there and not crying, still not showing any emotions, and they go inside and they make it comfortable for them. They change the mindscape to what they like, a giant palace. Well, one part has like fire around it and everything, and a throne, and the other half has the palace of Grand Zeno. So yeah, um, let's say not Goku's using a new palace. He doing because the old one was destroyed. So apparently, and all of its relics was destroyed with it. And so yeah, Naruto is still sitting there not crying. Minato and Kushina picks Naruto and them up because Minato stops her from stabbing him because she said he can just let him suffer while he's going up. So we're gonna do like an hour time skip, and everyone in the village is gathered around, and Minato says, "I have an announcement that the Hokage has died, facing the Nine Tails." And everyone is sad, and then that's when he says, "But we managed to defeat the Nine Tails." He's gonna take the credit. He says, "I managed to defeat the Nine Tails, sealing it into my two children, Minma and Mito." And he puts them up, everyone's booing, and he sends out Bloodlust and says, "If it wasn't for them, you all would be dead." And everyone thinks about this, and they praising him, praising Minma and Mito. They're treating him um, like a princess and a prince. And that's when, oh, sorry. Then that's when, Naruto, they bring Naruto and says, but the soul was sealed into him. And everyone started hating him, and that's what Kushina and them wanted. And Danzo, he does not agree with this. He thinks this is wrong, or whatever. No, you know what? No, Danzo is okay with it. He doesn't mind. He doesn't care, actually. So, yeah. That's when Naruto... We're gonna do a time skip. My bad. I keep saying Naruto like he's older now. I'm just trying to get to the part where he gets older. So I'm gonna do a time skip. I'm gonna time skip to Naruto's 12th birthday. And we see a little boy running. It's a birthday party for Minma and Mito. But we see Naruto running. Every time his birthday, they chase him and beat him. And since on your 13th birthday is when you graduate from the academy. So yeah. And that's when, hold on guys, I'll be right back. Okay guys, I am back. And that's when Naruto is running and he turns into an alleyway. And this alleyway has actually been sealed off prior time before this. So it was sealed off. Now, Naruto's running. He's not scared or anything, but he knows it's going to hurt since he can still feel pain. And so he's running, and he makes it into the alleyway, and he's thinking, because he's used the alleyway multiple times, that he can get away through here. And they know this alleyway, they know he's going to probably get away, but they remember that it was sealed off, and some of them smiles with an evil grin, and they chase him, and Naruto sees that it's been sealed off. And he's thinking, damn it, it's sealed off, oh well. And then they come, and someone decks him in the face so hard, sending him flying to the wall. And this was a Jonin. And he punches him, and then most of the beginning, they're using techniques, because some of the adults told them that they can try out techniques or jutsu that they can use for the graduation exam. So some of them using like these earth style and water style, and some fire style, because some Chiha massacre didn't happen, and everything. And Naruto's just sitting there, burnt, bruised. He's burnt, then water obviously went over him and then stopped. Then spikes, earth spikes impaled him and everything. So yeah, Naruto, they finally leave. Naruto gets up and is walking back home, and he sees that the house is filled. And he walks in and sees everybody having a party, cheering Minma and Mito on happy birthday and all of that. Big party at the the Uzumaki and Namikaze compound. And so Naruto goes in the kitchen, looks in the cabinet, and grabs some bandages. Everyone sees this, but they don't care at all. And Jiraiya's not there, everyone's there. And Naruto's wrapping his wounds up. And, yeah. So, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and then Minato and Kushina stands up and they ask everyone to quiet down. They have some good news. First, Kushina goes and she says, Mito, I have a present from you on the behalf of me. You're going to be my successor for the Uzumaki clan. You're going to be the Uzumaki clan head. And then Minato talks. He says, "You're going to be the Uzumaki clan. The Namikaze clan head." And he gets furious. And Naruto gets furious because he knows prior time that since he's kind of smart in this one, he knows that the oldest is supposed to be the clan head of both clans or whatever clan. And he know that his great grandpa and his great grandmother left it to him, but they took it away from him. And then that's when Jiraiya Tsunade says, "We also have something to tell you from the Great Toad, that Menma and Mito are the children of prophecy." And everyone is cheering, and they're cheering Menma and Mito on. And then that's when Menma says, "I knew I was destined for greatness, blah, blah, blah." And everyone starts to laugh and say, "Yes, you are." And they're like, they'll be starting their training tomorrow. Well, they've been training them beforehand, but they're just going to do more intense training. So yeah, Naruto gets angry, and he was holding a glass cup, and he grips it tight. He doesn't know this, but like this red and white aura, no, this red and black aura is just coming off his hand, and he crushes it. And he just lets it go, and it drips, and everyone sees that his hand's bleeding. And Naruto looks, and he rips the glass out of his hand and throws it. And just a lot of blood, and he walks to his room. And everyone's wondering what's wrong with him, and they don't care. They start back the party. So at the end of the party, Naruto hears people talking downstairs, and they're like, "And Mito, we're gonna start your training since you have a month before the training. The graduation exam. Say they had a month before." Like, you know how UA's 1 month of whatever before, whatever. And so the next day, Naruto wakes up and looks out the window and sees them training on chakra control and everything. And Naruto gets pissed by this. And so Naruto walks out the house, and he's just walking around the village. Obviously, villagers beat him up, and then it hits nighttime. Naruto comes back, and he sees everyone sitting in the living room around the table, and Minato says, "Boy, come here." And then Naruto comes, and he looks and asks him, what do they need? And Minato says, "From today on, you will be kicked out of the Uzumaki and Namikaze compound. You are no longer one of us, and I disowned you." Because Jiraiya told him to do this. Because he's going to affect Menma and Mito's reputation and training. And Naruto looks, squinting his eyes, and says, "Fine." They thought he was going to put up resistance. He says, "Fine," and he moves towards the door, leaving, but before he could leave, he feels a sharp pain in his back. And this was a flying Raijin kunai. And Minato appears behind him with a Rasengan and pushes him straight out of the house, sending him through some houses. And then that's when they're inside the Namikaze and Uzumaki compound, so they can do whatever they want there. There's a big wall around it anyway. And then that's when Kushina comes with the chakra chains, um, sending them towards Naruto, which impales him, sending him straight through the wall. And then Jiraiya in Sage mode kicks him to Nade with her monstrous strength, punches him. And Minmin Mito, um, Mito's an expert in. She's got a water. She has water and lightning affinity, and Minma has fire and wind affinity. And she uses a water style water flood jutsu. It's not as big as normal ones, but it's small enough. Like it's like a mini pond. And then she uses a lightning style lightning strike and hits the ground and zaps Naruto with the water while he's standing in water with lightning. And then Minma says wind style wind breath and shooting like a big ball of wind, and then says fire style and fireball jutsu, because they're already prodigies, and they hit him with this at the same time, and Naruto is just out of there, and he gets back up, and they're still wondering how he's still standing, and he holds his arm, telling them, and no, they all notice this, that his eyes glowed a lighter red, and he says he'll get his revenge, leaping straight over the wall with the little strength he had, running towards the force of death, and he finally passes out when he gets to a tree. So he's passed out, and Naruto is thinking that he's dead and he won't get his revenge, and that's when he hears a voice behind him. Well, two voices, and they're like, "Huh, you're finally here, kid." And this is Trigon and this is Trigon saying, "You're finally here, kid." And that's when the Grand Priest says, "Stop being so impatient, Trigon." And he says, "Well, we've been waiting for 13 years. He says, "Well, you are right." And then that's when Naruto asks, "Who are you?" And they start to explain who they are. And they tell him their names and everything and their backstories. And Naruto's thinking, so that's what happened to you too? That's what happened to you guys too? And he was like, they're like, "What? You were killed too?" They're like, "You're not dead." He was like, "Oh, so where am I?" They're like, "You're in your mindscape. We're in your mindscape." He was like, "Oh, okay." And then it's like, "So what am I doing here?" They're like, "Well, you are our reincarnation. So we will be training you." And Trigon is so excited because he can't wait to train him because he's been waiting for this day for a long time. And that's when he says, "We'll be getting started tomorrow, but right now we need to heal your outside body." And he says, "Well, we are so powerful that we can project ourselves outside. So you'll be able to be you'll be the only one to be able to see us though." Naruto says, "Okay," and Naruto wakes up in the real world. His wounds are healing from his healing factor from Trigon and the Grand Priest, which mixes to a point where he's just powerful. His healing factor is powerful. He can just regrow a heart or any organ. He can come back from a drop of blood. And like, he's just immortal. Like, you can't even erase him from existence. He'll just come right back. That's how immortal he is. And then they're like, "First, we need to do something about this." And the Grand Priest snaps his fingers, and then just this house appears, and he walks in, and it's small on the outside. It's like a little shack on the outside, but it's big in the inside with a training room and everything. And he was like, "Well, this is where we're going to be staying for the time being, and this is where we're going to be training, get some sleep, eat, and then we'll start training tomorrow." It was the next day. Naruto wakes up, and he gets up and he's looking around. Then Trigon and the Grand Priest says, "All right, it's time to training. Get dressed." And Naruto says, "My clothes are ripped," and then they snap. And then Naruto now has this all black shirt, all black short sleeved shirt, and then he has a red and black hoodie over it, And then he has these black ninja pants and these black ninja shoes. Well, red and black ninja pants and red and black, no, and just all black ninja shoes. And he has the old, let's say, the Omega symbol. Yeah, because I like Dark Side and I didn't want to add him in this one, but I'll do one with Dark Side too. And guys, tell me if you want me to do a Deku. What if it was Trigon and the Grand Priest? So yeah, the Omega symbol on the back of it, because Trigon remembers Darkseid, which was one of the strongest foes he's fought in. That's what he thinks. So yeah, the Omega symbol on the back. Naruto's like, this is cool. And then they're like, we'll be starting training. And then Naruto says, okay, are we going to be doing chakra controlling or whatever? And they look and they're like, is that the energy you guys use here? And he was like, Naruto was like, what do you mean? Like, from where we come, or from Trigon says, wherever I come from, we have many different types of powers and abilities, but mainly, I use magic. And then the Grand Priest says, well, I use Ki or Kai. He's like, oh. And he's like, is chakra stronger than them? They're like, no, it's pretty inferior. And he was like, okay. And so they get straight to it. They says, first we have to work on your physical abilities. Now, the Grand Priest, let me just tell you how powerful he is. His strength is called absolute strength. You have to be as powerful as anything that exists to have something called absolute strength, absolute durability, absolute speed, absolute everything. And then he has ki, he can do ki blasts and all of that. He can create and destroy things with his ki. Reality manipulation, I think, kai, teleportation, what else? He's an expert fighter yeah, he's the father of all angels. So whatever an angel can do, he can do, and they're powerful. And his ki is the biggest part of his power. He got energy shields, and yeah, that's all I could actually find. Yeah, but he can do a lot of things with his ki. He just couldn't name them because we haven't seen him fight anybody yet. Kind of hoping he do though. Like, what if he goes up against Goku and just wipes him out and then rebuilds Goku more powerful, or bring back Goku's Kakarot memories? Yeah, that'd be cool. Then Trigon has shapeshifting, energy manipulation, telekinesis, pyrokinesis, telepath, empathy. Well, he can control people's emotions. Then he has thermokinesis, shadow and darkness manipulation, bestowal of any power, teleport over vast distances in a red flash, power negation, cosmic energy manipulation, and then spirit manipulation. Oh, and immortality. And he's the ruler of hell, basically. Yeah. Oh, and matter manipulation. Yeah, matter manipulation. I think the Grand Priest has that too, if I'm not mistaken. Because I think he does. So yeah. And so he's training and he's trying to master. First he's working on ki. But Trigon and the Grand Priest came to a conclusion with Naruto that he doesn't need chakra. So what they do is they evaporate all the chakra out of his body. Naruto has no chakra, not even 1% of it. Like none at whatsoever. And Naruto's like, wait, what happened to all my chakra? They're like, you don't need it. And his body just fills with so much ki, all of the Grand Priest's ki. And it's an overload to the point where his body was literally about to be wiped from existence. The Grand Priest, he can alter people's genetics or something like that. I forgot what it's called. Something like that. Basically, he can alter people's genetics. So what he did, he made him an angel, just without the pale skin, blue skin, and the white hair. He still has a halo though around him, his glowing halo around his head. But the thing about that is, it's it's larger. It's giant, and it's just around. It's not around his head. It's around his back. Like it's just a circle around his back. But it's invisible to the human eye. Yeah, they can't see his true form, which is devastatingly powerful. And then he alters his genetics and everything to be angel, so he can contain his full power. And Naruto was like, "Oh, I thought I was gonna die there." And the Grandpa's like, "Well, you were." And then Trigon also can alter people's genetics. And say he makes him have demon or whatever Trigon is. So yeah, he makes him have demon. So now Naruto is half powerful. This angel that I know, the father of all angels, and Trigon, which mixes, and now he's just OP. He's omnipotent. I'm omniscient. I'm not potent. All of that. And then he learns how to use ki and magic together, which makes his attack stronger. He also has black flames, black lightning. He can control all the elements at will from Trigon's magic. Then he learns the shape-shifting, the energy manipulation. Then he learns telekinesis. Then he learns pyrokinesis. Then he learns telepath. And then he learns empathy to control people's emotions. He learns thermokinesis. He learns shadow and darkness manipulation. He learns bestowal of any power. He can bestow powers on anyone. And with the shadow and dark manipulation, it's basically like necromancy. So if he kills something or someone, the shadows and darkness takes over his body. Like, you know how Sun Jin Woo's shadow soldiers or whatever it is? Yeah, it's like that. It looks exactly like that. But the colors are just different. It's just red and black. That's the only difference. Yeah. And so he learns that, and then bestows any power. Then teleport over vast distances in a red flash, and then power negation, cosmic energy, and spirit manipulation, and reality manipulation. And then he learns ki, learns how to do ki blast, how to fly with ki, how to make giant ki balls of destruction. He can make a sun that is made out of ki. He can strengthen his body with ki. He can make his speed faster with ki. But obviously, the Grand Priest strength is named absolute strength. That means it's absolute. You can't do nothing about it. Absolute durability, absolute speed. So his speed and strength and his base power is just off the charts. He's already above Tsunade at the age of 13 and all of that. So yeah. Then he learns all of that, and there's Kai and everything. And the Grand Priest says, well, he tells him that he's also obligated to marry his wife. And he's like, what? He's like, well, you're my reincarnation, so you're basically me. So my wife is your wife, since you're basically me. And he's like, where is she? He's like, well, she's locked away. We'll get her in due time. So yeah. And Naruto is just OP at this point. He can bring people back from the dead. They don't have to be his slaves or anything. He can just bring them back. Like people that are dead, he can just bring them back to life like they never died. He controls reality itself. And then yeah. So he decides, well, today is the end of the month, and he learned all of this in a month. So he's a prodigy, and his knowledge is vast because of Trigon and Grand Priest. He's omnipotent now, so he knows everything, like everything. So yeah, he goes back to the village. He walks in there, and everyone just feels this high power level. Naruto forgot to conceal it when he walked in the village. You can just feel this high energy, but they don't know what type of energy it is, and then it just disappears out of nowhere. This is because Naruto remembers to conceal it before it kills everything that he walks by. And so, yeah. And then Naruto's walking and walking to the Hokage's office, and he's standing outside the building. And Minato's actually in there right now with Mito, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Kushina there, wishing them good luck. And then Naruto walks in, and all of everyone, the Anbu and all of them just falls. Like, it's almost like they died, but they just fell asleep, or they were knocked out just from Naruto's pressure that he put, because he didn't feel like dealing with them. And he walks up the stairs, and he gets to the Hokage's office, opening the door, or he knocks, and the Hokage says, "So come in." And then Naruto comes in, and his head is down. And then he's like, Kage says, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm here to take the graduation exams, but I need your permission." And he's like, "Yes, what is your name?" And Naruto lifts his head up, and they can see who it is. He's like, "My name is Naruto." And they scoff. And they're like, "We thought you were dead." And he was like, "Lord Hokage, what are you talking about?" He was like, "Naruto, do not play these games with me." And then Naruto says, fine. And just a red and black aura is appearing off of him, and Trigon and the Grand Priest tells him to calm down. He doesn't need to take his revenge right now. And Naruto says, fine. And so he just grabs a chair from out of the corner, because he's not showing his abilities too much yet. And he says, "Now, Lord Hokage, I just need your permission to take the exams." He's like, "Why should I?" He was like, "Well, Lord Hokage, the village's law says you have to. So yeah." And he says, "Since I'm from this village, you have to. You're obligated to." And he says, "Fine." And he writes a paper saying allow him to take tests. And when he leaves, he looks back, and with this evil smile, which shivers down all their spine, he walks out. And then all of them starts to wake up. All the Anbu and them starts to wake up and asking what happened. And Naruto just vanishes. And this red and black flash, because teleportation. Yeah. And then that's when he goes to his he has a lot of money because reality manipulation. He goes to where these apartments are, or houses, and he buys a house, but the house looks so small from the outside. Naruto just do a few touches. He paints the whole house on the outside like white and whatever, cleans it. He fixed the house up on the outside. And the inside is ugly. So Naruto just had to make the outside look a little decent. When he get inside, he snaps, and it turns into the whole old Grand Zeno's palace with all the relics and everything in there. And the reason this happened is because the Grand Priest was the one to actually make the palace. So when he supposedly destroyed it, he didn't. It just went back to its original owner, which was him. So yeah. And then Naruto smiles, and he sees the orbs of the universe like in Dragon Ball Super. Was it Dragon Ball Heroes? I think it was Dragon Ball Heroes, yeah. And he sees them, and he goes, and then the Grand Priest was like, "Well, you have to absorb one at a time, and this is going to take a long time. So before you try to absorb them, just focus on the test first." And he says, "Fine." And he sees these daggers, the heavenly piercing daggers, but they're not really daggers; they're chain daggers. And Naruto tried to pick them up, and they're infinitely long, and they shoot straight in his body. And Naruto's like, "What's happening?" He was like, "Don't worry, and then the changes appear from his back like Kushina's and them, but theirs have a limit, only 100 feet. Naruto's is long. They can appear from anywhere, from his back, his hands, his legs, or they can just wrap around him to protect him from anything. Yeah, they basically have a mind to protect him, and they move at they break the sound barrier. That's how fast they are. It's like a whip. That's how they are, but just faster. And he says cool, and then they shoots them out of their hands like Scorpion. He's like, this actually helps. So yeah, and then he's trained. He got a training room with gravity, um, a million times gravity, which is not enough to push Naruto down. So it's a billion. He adds 200 billion, and it pushes him down. And he's like, this is something I'm training, and he managed to get back up, and he trains in that for probably like an hour because that's how long he has before the graduation exam. So everyone's getting in class. Naruto comes out, take a quick shower and everything, eats and leaves. And then he teleports to the academy walking in. Ruka asks, "Who are you?" Minman Mito knows who this is, and he gives him the paper. He's like, "Oh, it's you, the demon brat," and everyone knows who this is. It's Naruto. And he walks up to the back and sits down. And Naruto starts to explain, and Naruto's not really listening. Trigon and them are talking to him, and he's just listening to them too. They're telling him to not hold back, don't show his full power to the point where he destroys the universe, but don't hold back enough. So, and this is actually one of the training assignments. Do not use any techniques unless you have to. So just use brute strength alone. And Naruto nods and says, "Yes, masters." But basically, they're like brothers to him at this point. Like he calls them older brother. The Grand Priest, his older brother. And that's what he sees him as, and the um Trigon as his second older brother. So yeah, and they all playful around each other or whatever. So Naruto is talking to. He's just sitting there actually listening to the Grand Priest and them, and that's when Iruka says, well, everyone, it's now time to get started. And Naruto's like, oh, finally. And then everyone goes, they just have to make a simple clone. And Naruto's like, And everyone goes, Menma gets a 10 out of 9. I mean, a 9 out of 10. Mito gets a 10 out of 10. Sasuke gets a 8 out of 10. Sakura gets a 10 out of 10. Everyone gets their original scores. And then it's Naruto's turn. Naruto goes up, and he makes, since he doesn't have chakra, he makes 7 avatars of himself. Like, they live, breathe, they have their own mind and everything. They are him. They're just avatars. They live, breathe, they have blood and everything. And he was like, great, is that the amount you can make? And Naruto he's like, alright. But Naruto's like, so what do I get? He's like, you get 4 out of 10. Since that was your limit. He says, my limit. And he walks up to one of them, and grabs a kunai out of his pouch, and takes it, wraps it around the clone's throat. Sorry guys, it's going to be kind of brutal, but he needs to prove a point. And he slits the clone's throat. Yeah, to prove his point of it's not a shadow clone, it doesn't just disappear. And everyone noticed that it didn't disappear. It stayed. And he was like, how is that possible? It's bleeding and everything. And he was like, He's like, yeah. And then he snaps his finger and they all disappear. And he's like, 10 out of 10. Then they did the shuriken throwing test and the kunai throwing test. And at this point, the Hokage and everyone has arrived. The council, they're there to see the getting and see the future of their village. Minma and Mito, they both get a 10 out of 10. Sasuke gets a 9 out of 10. Everyone gets their original scores. Just Minma and Mito get... Minma gets an 8 out of 10. And Mito gets a 9 out of 10. So yeah. Everyone else gets their original scores. Then it's Naruto's turn. He walks up and he says, so... just have to put them in the board. And they're like... He was like, yes, if you can do that. He says, what if I break them? He says, well, you get full marks automatically. And he picks up one. He's like, what are you doing? You need all of them? He says, no, I don't. And he throws it. And it just multiplies into more. And shoots straight through. Breaking through them. And then wiping out the trees behind him. And he was like, He says, what do I get? He says 10 out of 10. Everyone's surprised about how his brute strength. And they think he's putting chakra, but no, it's no chakra at all. He don't have chakra. And then it's the, you have to show a jutsu. So everyone goes, Sasuke shows a fireball. Mito shows her chakra chains. And Minma shows the Sengun. Sakura shows the Talk no Jutsu. She gets a 5 out of 10. Everyone shows something. Ino shows her possession jutsu, blah blah blah. Yeah, everyone shows their originals. Then Naruto turn. He was like, well, I can do multiple things. And Naruto says, which one should I use? And then he just starts to fly. Like the ground under him starts to break and crumble, and it's just a big boom. And everyone looks up and sees Naruto in the air, just floating above them, with his hands in his pocket, basically looking down on them. And they get upset, and they were like, and they're thinking that he's looking down on them, which he is, because basically they are all beneath him. So Naruto gets a 10 out of 10 because that's impressive. The council are saying that's impressive because there was only 2 shinobi in the entire world that was able to fly. Yeah. And now Naruto can fly. So yeah. And then Naruto, he comes back down and he says, do I need to show you another one? They were like, well, yes, because like Iruka was wanting to mess with him more. So Naruto says, fine, and he holds out his hand and this giant red and black orb, small orb comes, and then it just grows bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it's just like the size of the Master Rasengan, and Naruto shoots it, and it eradicates the forest. Like half of the forest is gone. All the animals and wildlife in that part of the forest is eradicated. Naruto says that, is that enough? Looking at Iruka, and Iruka says, yes, scared, saying 10 out of 10, and everyone's surprised by this, how powerful Naruto is. And the council is happy because, well, this is one of the strongest, and then, yeah, he's one of the strongest. Danzo want him on his route, Ambu, and everything. You guys tell me if you want Naruto to join the route Ambu. Personally, I do, but I'm gonna let you guys decide. So, yeah. And then it was time for the sparring. Everyone spar. Sakura and them go. Mito goes against Sakura, winning. Minma goes against a random shinobi, winning. And then Sasuke wins and everything. Yo, Sasuke, Minma, and Mito hate Naruto, so they have the right to challenge him. And they challenge him, and then Iruka says that's not possible, that's against the law, and Fourth Hokage says let them, it's okay. And he can't go against Fourth Hokage, so he says fine. And he says, step in the ring, Naruto, Minma, Mito, and Sasuke. And so they all step in the ring. Naruto, remember what Trigon them said. Trigon and the Grand Priest both standing beside him, saying, use only brute strength alone. Use no techniques. And he says, fine. And he says, if they throw attack, just take it. And he was like, okay. Because they want Naruto to get experience. He's trained, he just doesn't have the experience to beat someone. So he needs the experience of fighting so he can get it down. So yeah, that's all they're training him on now, is just experience. Power, you got that in the bag. Experience, not that much. So Naruto is they rushing at him, and Naruto says he'll give them a handicap. They get 30 seconds to attack him, and then they all agree and say, you're gonna regret that. Sasuke says fire style, fireball jutsu, shooting it at him, and Minma and Mito says they're Rasengan, and they all just attack him, throwing barrages of attacks. Naruto not moving, and he tanks the fireball and the Rasengans, both of them. And everyone thinks he's a goner, and the smoke clears, and Naruto's just standing there. He's still counting, and they're just attacking, and finally their 30 seconds are up. He looks, and his eyes glow red, and he says, your 30 minutes are up. So he's just using brute force and strength alone, and he disappears out of everyone's eyesight. Sasuke has his two-tomoe Sharingan, because he's kind of a prodigy. And he has his two-tomoe, but Itachi had his at like, I think 4 or 5 or 6, was it? I don't remember. Sasuke got his at 13, so he's not that much of a prodigy, but he's a prodigy. And he can't even see him. And just this red and black flash is going everyone. Everyone's thinking this is the Flying Raijin. Kushina and them asks, did he teach Naruto the Flying Raijin? He says, no, I didn't. And that's when Naruto kicks Minma and then grabs Mito, punches her in the stomach, which makes her spit up blood, and grabs Sasuke by the face and slams him into the ground. Minma comes back, tries to kick. Naruto moves out the way, and then picks him up by the face, and Sasuke getting back up and throws him straight at Sasuke. Mito comes in with a barrage of taijutsu, trying to hit Naruto, and then she pulls out a kunai, trying to slash at him. Naruto blocks it, and it breaks on impact. Then Naruto headbutts her, knees her in the stomach, and everyone just hears this snapping noise. He broke her arm, and then lifted her up and slammed her into the ground and stomped on her back. With not too much strength. He didn't want to break her spine. Because he wouldn't be able to become shinobi like that. And then he full speed rams his fist into Sasuke's stomach, pushing him down to the ground. Minma tries to come. Naruto blocks the kick to the face, and then elbows Minma, and then he gets up and headbutts him, and he just disappears behind him, kicking him in the air, and appears in the air, and then just clenches his hands together and hits him back to the ground. And everyone's just seeing Minma, Mito, and Sasuke getting dogged out. And Mito heals, and then Minma is getting back up, and Two Tails appear because they managed to control it just enough. And everyone's scared, and then lets them dry, and tonight they say, get him. Minma and Mito. Everyone's cheering Minma and Mito on now, because they know they can control the Two Tails. But anything past that, they are going to a violent rage, and no one will be able to stop them. Well, unless you're Jonin, high Jonin, or Hokage level. And so they run at Naruto, and then Sasuke activates his Tomoe and doing hand signs, fire style fireball jutsu, and then throwing kunai within the fireball jutsu, and then they all attacking him. And Naruto he stops the claw strikes of both Minma and Mito in their Two Tails form, and everyone's surprised because they're almost close to Tsunade's strength. And Naruto lifts them up and slams them into the ground. Then he picks Minma up from the back of his head, lifting him up like basically how Omni-Man did Invincible. That's how Naruto's doing minima right now, and the fireball hits him, which burnt him a lot. And then the kunai that were inside of it pierced him. Then he takes it out and stomps Mema's face down, constantly into the ground until he gave up and until he passed out. And then Mito comes in, tries to attack Naruto, grabs the tails, and then kept slamming her back and forth like Hulk did Loki, and just kept doing it over and over and over. And then stomped on her stomach. She spit up blood and passed out. And then Sasuke was scared. He was the only one left. And Naruto just came in front of him and then grabbed his throat. He was about to snap his neck, but Sasuke passed out, and Iruka says that's the end of the fight. And everyone was surprised. And then, yeah, guys, that's why I'm going to leave it off. I'll make part 2 tomorrow morning. Yeah, guys, please like and subscribe. Peace out.